Well, happy Thanksgiving week, y'all. Well, welcome back. So, last week it rained like crazy, and so there's not a whole lot of changes in the garden right now. I've got some seedlings coming up, both over in the newest kiddie pool and with my edible flowers, but otherwise there's not a whole lot going on. So I thought that today we do some gardening in the kitchen. We're going to talk about 3 things that I've had fun growing from kitchen scraps. And because this week for Thanksgiving you're probably going to be cooking and cutting up and tossing out a lot of different scraps in the kitchen, I wanted to chat with you about 3 different things that you could save the tops of or save parts of and make a whole new plant from that. So 2 of the things I think are very likely to probably be in your kitchen this week for Thanksgiving, and that's sweet potatoes, celery, and one that's probably not is pineapple. But in a minute when we get to pineapple, I'll tell you a good reason why pineapple should be in your kitchen all throughout the winter. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start off with is the sweet potato. Now, if you remember outside in the garden, everything in that bed that is a sweet potato plant all came from growing sweet potato slips just from a sweet potato. Now, I usually get an organic sweet potato, and then all you have to do is, I'm going to put this part down. This is, I think I did it wrong last year, but all you have to do, you know, you remember doing these in school, so you can just get some toothpicks to give it some stability and then set it down in some water. And I actually need a little bit more water in there. And I'll show you some pictures right now from last year when I got my slips off of a sweet potato, and it went pretty crazy and it was pretty fun to do. But this time of year is a perfect time to get your slips going. So around the first of the year, they're all rooted and ready to go and really strong. So let's take a look at those slips that I had going into the garden last year, and then we'll come back and talk about celery. So, like I said, sweet potatoes is an easy way and an inexpensive way to get a lot of sweet potato plants. Now, another thing that you might know about that we had success with last year also was celery. Now, again, I always, when I'm trying to grow from scraps, I try to always get an organic product. And so, whether I'm doing this for a plant or not, I usually always just start out my celery just by cutting the whole bottom end out like that. This is actually bad celery. So I just make a cut like that. See, I'm tripping out a little bit because I just realized that this celery is bad. And I want to get my other celery out, but my sweet husband insists that I go forward and still use this celery, and so it's kind of driving me crazy. But so once you have it cut like this, and I don't necessarily think you have to do this, because if you get in here close, can you come in for a bit, hun? Even though this looks kind of grody, which maybe I should have paid attention to this at the store, but these are where all the little roots are going to come out. So, and you can kind of see they look a little bit like hairs right there. But for some reason last year, I just had the notion to want to cut across in it, so I did. And then all you do, now there are some people that just direct put these into the soil, but I kind of like watching roots form on plants. So I just popped it down into some water like this. Now both with the sweet potato and the celery, I try to change out the water every couple of days so that it doesn't get cloudy and yucky and, you know, attract bugs or anything like that. But after a couple of weeks, you'll start to see roots come out at the bottom, and then you can kind of just decide on your own and your own schedule of when you actually want to plant those up. And if now I'll show you some pictures of our celery that we grew from kitchen scraps last year. Had great success. It got really big. It had tons of stalks on it. So let's take a look at that. Now, the pineapple has got to be my most favorite thing that I've been able to kind of regrow from scraps. And this poor thing, it's actually seen some better days because our teen boys wash the dishes, so more than once this pretty babe has gotten knocked off the counter. There's been days that she didn't have water, but if you look all of this right here is new growth that has come from this pineapple sitting in water. And these are the original leaves of the pineapple, just like over here on this pineapple here. So everything here in the middle, like I said, is new growth. Now, to give you a little backstory, I'd heard that you could do this with pineapples, but the first time I did it, I just came in and, you know, cut the top off like I normally would to, you know, cut one up to eat. And I put that down in water, but it didn't take more than a day for that to just not make sense to me, because that meant that the flesh of the pineapple was still a part of the pineapple and in water. So to me, that just spelled bacteria and yuck coming really, really fast. So I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was actually probably on a cooking show, but the best way to go about getting this plant separated from the pineapple is just to actually twist, if I can do it, just twist the top off like so, boom, and you know, then it's left like that. So now I'd probably go and make my flat cut. So you can actually see in here that these kind of webbing pieces here that look like threads are actually the basis of the roots. And this is actually pretty good around this base. I'm just gonna pull off some of these. Depending on what it looks like when you take it apart, you may take off more of these outer edges. So now I saw in one video, and I'll put the name of the people somewhere over here, but they just directly put that down in some dirt and called it good, and you know, let it go from there. But what I did, and I just saw that recently, so what I did, and this was months ago, is I just stuck it down in water. Now this is, you know, this stuff right here is pretty yuck. So we're gonna take this off, and in a second we're gonna plant this here with you, and we're gonna trim this up a little bit. So we got this cleaned up because it just, like I said, it kind of had some brown spots that I was worried about just rotting once it got in the dirt. And then we cleaned up some of the outer edges, and I'm gonna leave these and I'll clean these up at another point in time. So all we're gonna do is we're just gonna plant it to here, just enough to keep it up, but you don't wanna bury it any deeper than that. And we're just gonna set it down in there real gently and just pat it in enough to keep it standing. And then this soil is pretty moist from getting rained on, but we're probably still gonna go in and water here in a minute. And it's okay to water on the top of this because it's actually, the plant is designed to take down water real properly to the roots of the plant if you water it in that way. So now the super cool thing about this is in about a year, so think like next year, Thanksgiving week, we can actually force this plant to bear fruit for us, to make a pineapple. And the way that you do that is you can either add some sodium carbonate, or what we're probably gonna do is you can put an apple in here and cover the whole thing in a bag overnight, and that will actually force the plant to go to fruit. And then up from the middle will come a stalk, and on that stalk will grow a wee baby pineapple. So I can't wait to see how that goes and how big this gets. Now with our new pup here, we're just gonna freshen up our water in this cup. Now I just filled this up with some fresh water and just set it in there to where that nub is kind of under the water. And the same with the sweet potato and the celery. Every 2 or 3 days we'll change out the water, and we keep these over in the window, and that gives them a little bit of light, but not any kind of serious light. And in another month or so, this should have roots, and in a couple weeks these will have some roots, and then we've got some fun things to plant in the garden. Okay, now I know pineapple, I forgot to say this before I twisted off the top, but I know that pineapple is not necessarily a traditional thing that people might have at Thanksgiving, but the #1 reason why this should be in your kitchen during the winter is because it's, I'm gonna wreck the name, but it's like the bromeliads family. which really means that it's got a lot of bromelain in it. And that is an amazing natural cough syrup and sore throat remedy. Last year, one of our daughters had the flu, and we made up a concoction with real pineapple juice, and it was really instrumental in helping her get through that illness. So if you've got sick ones this winter or fall, definitely have them eat some pineapple. You could blend this up and make a juice with it, or buy the natural pineapple juice that doesn't have any sugar added to it. But this is a really amazing thing to have in your natural medicine arsenal throughout these fall and winter months. So there's a good tip for you. I love finding different things in the kitchen that we were going to throw away anyway, or compost, that we can then turn around and have more food with. So I know that a lot of people already know about doing it with green onions, but I'm wondering if there's any other food out there that you've regrown from scraps that you could share with me. And if so, please let me know down below. And I hope your gardens survived, because I know a lot of friends of mine in the valley had hail in their yard last week. So a lot of people lost a lot of different plants and a lot of things that just a couple of days before were doing really, really well. So I hope that all of your gardens are doing well, and we all want to wish you the happiest Thanksgiving this week. And hope you have the best day ever, and thanks so much for tuning in on how you can regrow food from some kitchen scraps. Until next time.